Hi folks, Howard Schneider here. Welcome to Illustrator. Let's take a look at the working environment. And the first thing I want you to notice is the menu up here. And almost the last item here is called Window. And we're going to pick up some tools we'll need, some windows we'll need in order to work. So the first thing that's already kind of pre-selected is Application Frame. That's this sort of gray area. That sort of gives you a context to build your documents in. Control is the area at the very top over here. You'll see some items as soon as we launch a document. Then you'll see some the items you'll notice up here are basically things that have basically been created by these tools down over here. And then you have these tools down over here. So these guys are your tools, okay? All right, so we're going to add one more thing over here for the time being. For an additional window, we're going to add layers. So layers are really powerful elements here, and we'll be using those continually. So, okay, so the first thing we want to do here is build a new document. And the way to do that is just like in Photoshop, and as you'll see later in InDesign, you go up to the File menu, you go down to File, or just do Command N or Control N for PCs. We'll give it a name, and we'll give it a size. Let's make it a square size. We'll make it 10 inch by 10 inch. Okay, so there is our brand new document. Okay, so we've created a document. We've seen where some of the very important menu is window, and now let's go up to the view menu, and we're going to pick, of all the things we see over here, we're just going to need rulers just to show what where the rulers are located. So this shows you what the size of your document is, and you'll notice that the document sort of in this case originates from the upper left hand corner because you got the 0 here and the 0 here. So these are referred to XY coordinates. X comes in from the left, Y comes down from the top. So right now this particular point is 0, 0, 0, Y, 0, X. Okay? And you can see this is 10 inches wide by 10 inches deep. So we've got that. So let's move on to the next thing we're going to get familiar with is a couple of these tools here. This is called the selection tool. A shortcut on that is the letter V. This will allow you to move things around. Then the one next to it is called the direct selection tool. That gets more specific in helping to move things around and manipulate things. Next one down over here is called the magic wand tool. I'm not really sure we're going to use that as much in this demo because we're just going to try and give you enough tools to do the exercises with. So like if you don't have Photoshop and you're just using Illustrator, this is nothing to worry about right now. Lasso tool, yeah. Okay, that's not that important right now. Pen tool, very important. Type tool could be pretty darn important. This is all these other the rectangle tool, very important. Okay. The eraser tool could be important. We'll take a look at that. This is our rotation tool, rotate tool. This is a scale tool, okay? And this is called the free transform tool, okay? So those are the ones we'll really pay a lot of attention to. We've also got the hand tool down over here for quickly moving things around. And then the zoom tool down over here for enlarging and reducing, okay? This one over here is these are your color swatch. These are your color application tools. This large square over here, which is all white, is for identifying a solid color to any shape you create. This one down over here, I can click on that. And you can see that another window up here that identifies the color of this element over here comes up. This is for whenever you draw a shape. Every shape will have an outline, and you can either give that outline a thickness and a color, or you can go ahead and give it no thickness and no color. Okay, if you do give it a color and a thickness, you can actually kind of control the color, the intensity of the color, etc. But generally, when I'm drawing shapes, I kind of like to leave the color and the presence of an outline vacant. Okay, so when you're drawing, you're really not affected by it. But yeah, it's everyone's got their own choices. So those are the basic building blocks here. Okay. So let me move this out of the way here. Okay, so here's what our normal desktop looks like. So the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to make a couple of shapes here using some of the tools. So one of the first exercises basically requires that you build some shapes made out of circles. So I'll show you how to do that using this particular tool, the rectangle tool. If you see, there's like a little arrow in the lower right hand corner. I'm going to click that and hold it down, and then you'll see all these other kinds of shapes you can create. Okay, so I've got a rounded rectangle tool and an ellipse tool. I'm going to click on the ellipse tool, and if I hold down, now that I have my cursor is now this plus sign, sort of a target, well, it's a plus sign. I'm going to hold down the shift key to make a perfect circle. If I let go of the shift key, I can make irregular ellipses. Okay, hold down the shift key, it's going to be a perfect circle. So I'm going to hold that down, and so there's my first shape. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do after I've made this shape is give it a color or something, gray or color. So I'm going to click on the solid fill tool. I'm going to go down to, well, I can go down to the colors over here, or I can call up the swatches, which give you more specific colors. So I'm going to go into swatches under the Windows menu. Here you go, swatches. Okay. So here are the swatches. Okay. And you see I have a series of gray colors here. So I'm just going to click on one of those, and I have a solid color of gray. If I wanted to play with the outline and give the outline a color and a thickness, I would go up to the very top, the control area, and select the, now my object is selected, okay, that's already done, so that's how I can affect it, by selecting it. And the stroke tool will give me a chance to give the outline a thickness. Okay, so you can see what's happening over here, right? And I can change its color while it's selected. Or I can just say, oh, the heck with it. No color to the stroke, no color to the outline. And so, okay, so I made my first circle. I like it, and now I want to make more of them just like that. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to quick copy the shape you've already made. So I would select the selection tool, or hit V. Put your cursor over the circle, or if it's not selected, then click on it to select it. Hold down the Option key on a Mac, or the Alt Control on a PC, and then click and drag. There you go. Let me show you again. Select, Option, click, drag, hold down the Shift key, and you'll make a straight, horizontal, or 45-degree or vertical copy. Okay, so that's very convenient. And here, now that I've selected, I can change its fill color to maybe a lighter gray. Okay. And then I can, so let's say if I wanted to copy, I wanted to make more of these, I wanted to make 8 of them. I'll drag and select them both. Now I'll hold down the Option key, okay, hold down the Shift key, and I'll drag some more out there, okay. I want 4 more. I'm going to hold down, I'm going to click all 4 of those, and I'm going to hold down the Option key again, or the Alt Control key, if you're on a PC, and drag some more out here. Okay, so now I've got a lot of circles that are sort of extending far off my working area. Now I'm going to use my Zoom tool. Okay, and the Zoom tool by default gives you an enlarge command. If I wanted to give it a reduce command, I'll hold down the Option key, or the, I think, Alt or Alt Control on PCs, and then click, and there I can see everything I've created. So now I'll go up to um, the selection tool, just hit V, select all of my circles. Well, let's say we want to colorize some of these gray circles and maybe change the size of one of them, give it a little contrast of scale. So one of the first things I'll do is just shrink everything down to fit within the square. So I'm going to go to Free Transform, which again is E on the keyboard, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key while I'm shrinking everything down to fit within that little window. Okay, I'll just drag it over. And so let's take one of these circles. Let's take the fourth one, okay? Take the fourth one. I'm going to bring it out, and let's enlarge it. Let's enlarge it, something like that. Let's kind of put it, let me see if we can just put this behind. Object, go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. So you can see you've got even smaller increments, send backwards, send forwards, or send totally to the back. And that's what I'm going to do here. And let's see what we got. Let's see. It's not going to, probably the same, it's right almost the same color as that. So I'm going to change the color so I can make it a little more visible. There you go. And let me kind of center it. And move to the left. A little more. In fact, let's, I'm going to make this just a little bit larger. Okay, like that. Raise it up so it looks visually centered. Right, okay. And yeah, I'm going to move everything down just a wee bit. Just a wee bit here. Hold down the Shift key. Now I can move everything down vertically without worrying about losing my place. Okay. So there we have our alignment with a little bit of variety, in terms of a size. And now let's see what we can do in terms of color. Okay, so I'm gonna take my color window, bring it up here, and I'll swatch it a little closer. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna take our first swatch here, and I'm gonna give it this school bus yellow color. Okay. And let's see our second color over here. Let's give it this slightly more orange color. And let's see this one over here. Number 3, we'll give it. Let's try this brown color. Okay. This color, this larger circle. Let's give that. Let's treat it. There you go. Okay. And we've got number 5 over here, and let's try this this russet color. It's deep red. This one here. This one, right? This one here. Try that. The last one here. Let's try that. Okay, so here we have a pretty good looking color band. Okay. Okay, so let's say we want to work on some of these dots and not disturb some of the other dots. Okay, so one way we can do that, but the way we could do that is by separating our dots into groups of things we want to address in some fashion on one layer, okay, and then some dots we'll treat in another fashion on a separate layer. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select some dots here that I'm going to put on a separate layer. So I'm going to select this one, hold down the Shift key, this one over here, this one here, and this one here. And what I'm going to do is go up to Cut. Right. I'm going to create a new layer. Give it a name. Say more dots. And I might as well call this one base dots. Okay. So I'm going to click on my more dots, and then I'm going to go to paste in place. If I went to just paste, they'd end up anywhere. But I'm going to go to paste in place to keep them locked in where I originally found them. Okay, that's cool. All right, so let's say I want to work on this particular dot, this one right here, and or this one right here, and not have to mess with this because there's sort of like this overlap going on here. So what I'll do is I'll take the I'll take the which one here? Let's see. Let's put the lock on the more dots layer. And by turning on the lock, now I am able to control what I can accidentally delete and not. So I'm going to select everything here, or try to. You'll see that some items are selected and some are not. The ones that are not selected are obviously on the locked layer. So I can hit delete, and you can see that those are the ones that are still part of the locked layer. Okay, cool. I'll return everything back here. Let's see. Here we go. So what I'm doing here, there, folks, is hitting Command Z. Command Z will basically retrace all the steps you've made. I think up until I forgot what the number is, a couple of hundred steps. So it's like in Photoshop, you have a history window, okay, and obviously you don't have one over here. So in its place, you have a very high series of undos. So not all hope is lost, okay? That's important to know. Okay, so let's create some more individualized, customized shapes, okay? Not just circles anymore. Let's turn off, I'm going to turn off the layers so you can't see them. I'm going to add another layer here by going down to the Create New Layer icon. And, okay, so I'm going to use another variation of the rectangle tool, which would be the star tool, okay? So on the star tool, I'm going to just click and drag, and you can see there's a star being created. Now, if I go and hold down my arrow keys, the up arrow will increase the number of points on the star, okay, and reduce as well, right? And if I hold down the Command key, which I think on PCs might be the Alt and Control, or just the Alt, I'm not sure. But on the Mac, I'm going to hold down the Command key, and I can enlarge the star without increasing its core, the core, I guess, radius of the body of the star. So basically this area over here by holding down the Command key. Okay, so that is building a primary shape, and you can see more click and drag. I'm doing the same kind of star, but now I'm changing. I'm going to change colors right now so you can differentiate one star from another star. Okay, and there you go. Click and drag this away. Okay, so I've created a couple of star option shapes here, and let's say I want to maybe just use a portion of this star, not the entirety of the star. Maybe I just want to. I'm going to create another layer, new layer. I'm going to use the rectangle, okay, and I'm going to put a rectangle on top of this star, basically a square, okay. And right now I've given it a solid color, but I kind of want to see what's happening underneath it. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to my selection tool and click on both the star and the square. Now I'm going to I want to eliminate these points here, and all I want is just the what's left of the star within that square. So I'm going to go up to the window menu and go down to Pathfinder, right over here, Pathfinder. Okay. And Pathfinder has a lot of neat tools that are worth exploring. You can kind of see what the potential of each one is, and I have to sort of poke around myself sometimes. But you have a variety of ways of sort of slicing and dicing imagery. That's the minus front. Okay. Let's see. I think what I might be needing here. Well, I'll just show you what these different tools can do when you try. Okay. So there's the merged. Is that the unite tool? So now I have one shape. That's one shape now. Or I can go down to the intersect tool. Okay, which is not going to help me right now. And then this one is the exclude tool, which is not going to help me. The divide tool. Well, let me sort of go back to where I was originally. Okay, right there. Now I have this is the trim tool, so that's not going to help me at all. I'm going to go down to the next one, which is the merge tool. Not going to help me at all. Now I have the crop tool. There you go. So it was the crop tool that I needed to get a control of. Okay, so now the rest of the legs are gone. All I have is this particular shape. And okay, so I kind of like that shape, but I really don't like the solid color over here. And changing the colors is really not going to help me. So I'm going to go for a gradient effect. And I'm going to use the direct select tool to select my star. Otherwise, if I just randomly kind of selected both, I would colorize both the square and the star itself, but I just want the star itself. So direct select tool, star, and here you can see I've got control because I can change the color independently, but I can also give it a gradient. And by this is the gradient tool. So I'm going to double click on that, and here is the window for the gradient tool. And as you can see, I have a slider down over here. It's white on one end and it's black on the other end. So to affect a colored gradient, I'm going to drag any color from the swatch window, click and drag, place it anywhere along the slider. I'm going to replace the first color of white with yellow. I'm going to take this color purple here. I'm going to click and drag, replacing the color black on the other end. So you can see by having the shape already selected, it sort of applied it applied the gradient. You can select any one of these color swatches here, and you can change its opacity. Let's see, come on, like that. You can take this tool over here and kind of change where its center point is in terms of the distribution of these two colors. Okay, I can add other swatches over here, so I can maybe make it a bit more complex. Okay, and again, I have control over where these center points or focal points where the color appears, right? But I also have control again over the opacity, so don't forget that. Okay. Okay, so so that's sort of important, and I can also just go outside the shape and click and drag. Oops. Click here. I can change the direction of the gradient. I can give it a very short gradient. Okay. Get a very elongated gradient where it's barely noticeable, and so on and so forth. Okay? Okay. That's a good thing to know. Okay, so I'm going to take one of our other stars here and use it as sort of a sort of a cutting tool. I'm going to place it right on top of this star here, okay? And I want to change the angle of it a little bit. So I'm gonna go over here to this tool called the rotate tool. Click once, and now I can sort of play with the particular angle I want this thing at. Okay, and that suits me well. I'm going to change its color to white. Okay, oops, wait, sorry. Yep, I had it. Right there. Okay, and I really can't see its effect because it's actually behind the other star. So I'm going to see this star needs to be brought back. So I'm changing the arrangement over here so you send it to the back. And let's make sure we got everything selected here. I'm going to hold down the Shift key to deselect the star. There is this particular star. I'm going to bring it to the forefront. Nothing's happening. Okay, where's that star? Let's see here. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to create a new layer. Put that item on the new layer. Paste in place. And there is my white star. Okay. So right now I have an object that's built upon another object. Okay. And what I'm going to do to make things exist in a world where they do not have to exist on separate layers, I'm going to select both of these guys, and I'm going to go to the Pathfinder, which is already selected. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay. And one of these tools will give us what we want. And I think we have it right there. That was the merge tool. Okay. So now we have an item that is, let me get rid of this, that is one element. It all exists on one layer. Let's make sure it is infinitely scalable. So I'm going to go down to free transform, or Command or E, and I'm going to enlarge it as best I can on this small space here. Okay, good. So so basically this item can be enlarged to any size depending on your output device. Okay, and it will have the integrity of very crisp, clean, sharp edges until infinity. Okay, so that's a pretty cool thing to know, because the other side of the spectrum is this this thing called raster images. So what we're looking at right over here is a vector-based image. These are vectors are basically lines or shapes that are created out of lines. The lines are created by these little dots here called anchor points, and these lines over here are called paths. Okay, and when you put an entire set of these together, and the unit is complete and there's no gaps, then you have a completed path and you have a completed shape, and you can send this to any company in the world, and it would be 100% solid and bulletproof. We would not have any problems with it. But there's another type of image that's called a raster-based image, which I spoke to you about, just referenced it a second ago, and I also covered it in Photoshop. But I want to show you the difference between a vector-shaped image, which this is, and a raster-based image. Okay, so I'm going to turn off these layers, and I'm going to create a new layer using the type tool, occupying it with things that are typographic. So I'm going to click on the type tool right over here, and there is a window you need to have open, but that'll sort of come up when you actually start typing. So I'm going to click once, and I'm going to type in my word here, raster, and let's make it a little larger by selecting it. I did Command A or Control A, and going into the character window, the control window over here, and giving it a real point size. So right now it's 12 point. I'm going to make it 212 point. maybe a little smaller than that, maybe 159 points. Okay. And so now, and I'm going to enlarge a little bit by using my zoom tool and zooming in just a little bit, maybe not as much. Okay. And the word raster just appears, just a normal word, no problem there. It's when I take this word and I convert it into a more into something that is of a different nature, whereas right now it sort of exists as a series of lines that are connected by anchor points. I'm going to convert it into something that's more compatible with Photoshop. That would be a rasterizing the image. So here I'm going to go up to Object, go down to Rasterize. I'm going to go to the lowest resolution so you can really see how the limitations of rasterized images. Okay, so now it's rasterized. I'm going to zoom in here. Okay, and the closer I zoom in here, you can see what's happening. I'm deselecting the image, and you can see it's a bunch of little jagged, little stair steps, if you will. Okay, that is the nature of a rasterized image. The problems with a rasterized image is that you cannot enlarge it, obviously. The number of pixels, the number of the amount of information that's in the original file, that's all you get. You really can't grow it. So, whereas let's take the word vector, which is what we're sort of dealing with here in Illustrator. I can take the word vector. I can obviously enlarge it. You can see the comparison of how the crispness and clarity of one image, vector-based image, versus a raster-based image. Okay, so Illustrator is the kind of program you want to work in if you're developing a logo or a logo type, because you can make it infinitely scalable. The last thing you want is for a client to come to you and say, "Do you know that nice little boutique logo you designed for my daughter's graduation? We want to put it on the side of a building for whatever reason." And the little innocuous logo you designed for $20 or maybe just lunch suddenly takes on greater significance for whatever reason, and you're faced with the fact that your logo will not be on the side of should not be on the side of a building because it's going to look pretty bad. So lesson learned: create all flat graphics, things that will have scalable potential. Create them in Illustrator, and if you need to at any point convert them into a raster-based product, start with the Illustrator product. Don't change it don't change it into a raster-based image, but save a copy of it. Save a copy, which means that you go up to the File menu, and you save as, or you save a copy of it. Don't overwrite the original. Okay, leave the original as vector. Okay. And if you need to change it to raster later on, you can do that, no problem. Okay. Okay, so let's check out another feature over here. Let's turn off our type layer, okay, and let's bring in some images. And there's a thing we're going to do over here that relies on that. So I'm going to add. Let's go up to File. Oh, wait a second. Let's add a. I'm going to add a new layer, and you've got to make the layer visible, otherwise nothing's going to take place. So now that that new layer is visible, I'm going to go down to File and Place, and let's find something. Okay, let's find something we can play with. Okay, let's see what we got here. We got a bunch of images here. Let's switch to the icon view, and let's take Best in Show ribbon. Okay, let's place that. Best in Show ribbon. Yay. Okay. So so what I want to do is I just really kind of want to make my own shape, and basically I want to, let's say I want to just have a ribbon shape, ribbon type of shape, but not necessarily a ribbon itself. So I don't need a photograph of a ribbon as my final art, but I need the outline of a ribbon as my final art. Okay, so to do that, the most precise way of doing that is with a pen tool. So here's our pen tool. It's the third tool down. Click on it once, click on it again, hold the mouse down. You see you got a couple of other options here. We'll explain what anchor points are, but you can add anchor points, delete anchor points, and then the convert anchor point tool. Those are really neat, but we're just going to keep it pretty simple. We're going to focus on the pen tool, okay? And before I do anything with our ribbon, I'm going to create another layer here, and let's change this to ribbon. Okay, and our new layer, I'm just going to call it paths. Okay. I'm going to show you basically how to draw with the pen tool, how it basically fundamentally works. I'm going to use my pen tool. I'm going to click once. Before I do that, I have a guideline over. I've got a series of guideline colors over here. So each layer has its own guideline. I don't like this this light turquoise because I can't see it. So what I'll tend to do is I'll double click on the name of the layer. Now I can change that particular color by double clicking and make it a little darker. Okay, so it'll be sort of like a dark cyan or a dark turquoise. Okay, good. All right, so I can see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to click once. Okay, now I've got a dot, a square dot. That's called an anchor point. I'm going to click again. Okay, and I've created another anchor point with a line in between these two anchor points. That's called a path. So we're going to start building a shape by adding more anchor points. Okay, and you can see what's starting to happen here. A shape is starting to fill in. Sometimes when I'm making a very complex shape, like we'll be doing with the tracing the ribbon, I don't want any color inside my shape. So this is called the fill color, and I'm going to go down over here where the crossed line is, and I can do the same thing over here under the swatches or under the color, and just hit that red diagonal line, and now there's nothing inside of that shape. Okay, I can still see the outlines over here. Some people like to go to their stroke swatch, okay, and maybe give it a color black. You can if you want to. It's some people like it, some people don't. Anyway, I'm going to now continue to complete the shape. So pen tool is still selected. Here's my fourth anchor point. Okay, and but I'm not done yet. I'm not done creating sealing up my shape. So I'm going to go back to where I started. This is called closing a path. And if I play it just right, oh come on, Illustrator likes to do this sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't play by its own rules. And as my pen tool goes back to where it started, a little circle should form, and of course it doesn't, which it gets to be a little irritating. I know, I'm going to zoom in more so you can see what the point is here. See where I started? That was a little tiny dot. But my pen tool is supposed to go back to the point I started at and click exactly on that dot where I first started, because that's important. That will close up the shape. That'll be a locked up shape. So you don't want any breaks in that shape, because that'll not be a complete shape. We're seeking a closed path. By not closing the path, you can run into problems. So trust me when I say this is a closed path, okay? And what I can do with this closed path is give it a solid shape called a fill shape, okay, like that. I can go and take my stroke and completely eliminate it visually, and let me go to my zoom tool and click out. Okay, and so I have a shape on top of my ribbon. Not that I really kind of like this combination, but just to show you what the pen tool can do. Okay, So let's do this. Let's take our shape with the. Oops, what did I do? I think it's right on top of my ribbon. Yes, it is. It didn't mean to place it. Somehow I switched selection over here, but that's okay. So I can always select it, go up to Cut, select the layer that I want it to be on, the paths layer, and go to Paste in Place if I like the position of it. Okay, I can drag this layer beneath my ribbon layer to sort of give it a vignette effect and position it even more. That's what I really want to do. I can change the opacity up here. All kind of neat things. Okay, so anyway, so that's how you basically create a shape using your pen tool. All right. So but now I want to do a shape that is basically of the ribbon itself. So I'm going to take I'm going to make a new path. Ribbon path. Okay, and click this off. And I'm going to kind of put the lock on everything else here because I'm going to do a lot of working with the pen tool. I don't want to start messing with any other layers accidentally. So here's my ribbon layer, and what I'm going to do is select my ribbon layer and go into Layers, and I'm going to go to Template. Template will make this whole thing gray. Okay, and make this whole thing gray. And so by doing that, it does a couple of things. It puts an automatic lock on that layer, so you really can't mess with it. And it takes the image and ghosts it back quite a bit. So what that does is when I start tracing my path to mimic the ribbon, the intensity of the color of the original image does not interfere. It doesn't get in the way visually. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to I'm going to reverse the order over here and put my ribbon template, now it's a template, put it beneath the ribbon path. So the only path I've got left to me now that I can draw on is the ribbon path layer. I'm going to go up to my pen tool, and I'm going to lay down, let me zoom here a little bit. I'm going to lay in an anchor point. Okay, let me make it more accurate. Here's my first anchor point. So you can see that this is it's not a perfectly straight line, but it's fairly straight with some subtle curvatures to it. So I could do one of two things. I could just kind of do something quick and dirty. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, quick and dirty. Or I can really get very precise with things. Now I just saw that I need to change my colors here, so I don't want any more fill while I'm drawing. And I would kind of like a black path as I'm drawing, so I'm going to click on the path swatch and then click on the black color. And maybe the stroke weight could be a lot lighter so it doesn't get too thick as I'm drawing. And so I'm going to click once to start my path. And then along here, there's a very subtle, sort of a straight line. And then I'll click another time over here, and I'm going to drag, click and drag, or just pull, right? Wherever I place my second anchor point, just hold down my mouse and pull. And you can see that this line is now starting to get these curves going on. And the longer I pull it, the lengthier that curve gets. And the shorter I lengthen it, I can really start controlling the subtle curvature of that edge. So I have another curve to conquer here, and I will click again somewhere down over here before the curve changes direction again. So let me undo that by hitting Command N or Control N and click something maybe a little closer to the arc of that curve. And I'm clicking and dragging to match the shape of that curve. Okay. Now I've got another turn coming right over here, so I'm going to click right over there and make a very subtle curvature. But now I got a turn to make. So I'm going to, without knowing any better, I'm going to click on the next change in the path, which would be sort of at the bottom here at this V. click once, okay, and that sort of worked. I can do that. Let me zoom here a little bit more, a little tighter. Okay, so here's my previous anchor point. I'm gonna click right over here. Okay, and that sort of works, but I'm sort of like missing this area. Let's see if I can get a little tighter. Okay, yeah, that works. And so now I'm going to come back up to here. I'm going to click again. And, you know, I'm a little off here. But we're just going to, that's okay for now. There's a little bit of a gap. We can take care of that later. So now I'm going to make a turn over here and make another anchor point. You can see that we get like a secondary curve down over here. So I'm going to make another anchor point right over here before the curve. Okay, that's pretty cool. And now I'm going to make another anchor point down over here and drag it to shape the curve. Now I'm going to click right over here. I'm going to have like sort of a little bit of a dip. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, move this along. Now I have sort of a bit of an angle over here. So I could go ahead, make another anchor point here. Whoa, what happened? My path suddenly got bowed. What happened was that I did not take the consideration the angularity of this change. I'm going to undo that. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to hold down my Option key. So yes, the Option key, and you can see like a little white inverted letter V maybe next to my pen tool. It's like a little white V. On PCs, I think you can hold down the Alt and Control key. And then you can break the handle. Basically, you convert that anchor point to a corner point. So I'm going to hold down the Option key on a Mac, click once, and now one of my these are called handles, by the way. One of these handles is now gone, and so now I've got control over that angle, over that corner. Okay, so I'm making a very, very precise line that sort of covers the precise curvature of that ribbon. And I may have another tight curvature over here. Let me see what that looks like. Yeah, it looks like that curve is really going to be, yep, it's going to be too broad. It's really bowing out there. So I'm gonna break the handle on this one too. Again, Control or Apple, Command or Apple. The command. Whew, no. Let's try it again. The Option key on the Mac or the Alt Control on a PC. Now my curvature should be, I've got more control over it. Okay, so now you got the idea. I've got a very tight curve or a very tight angle over here. Break the handle. Break the handle. Match the contour. Break the handle again. Straight line. Broad curve. No reason to break the handle there. Elongated curve there. Very tight angle here. Disconnect the straight line over here. Now we've got a very steep angle over here. Break the handle again. Okay. Got a tight, elongated curve down over here. Very long straight line here. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom out and just do a quick, oops, and just do a very quick means of just creating a shape. You're creating a path. So, oh, by the way, let me zoom in here again. Okay, if for some reason you find that your path is deselected and like, whoa, what happened to my anchor points? Go to your Direct Select tool, this guy right over here. Click on any path, and there you are back to where you were. But now, to keep drawing, hit your pen tool and click on the previous anchor point. Now you can continue drawing. Okay. All right, so let me zoom out again. Okay, pen tool. Oh, broke my own rule. Look at the previous point. Keep drawing. Okay, so I'm just gonna, this is gonna be quick and dirty now. I'm not breaking any handles. I'm just doing connect the points, right? No, maybe I should, but I won't. Connect the points. We don't want to spend a lot of time on this. And remember, this is not a software tutorial necessarily. This is just to get you up and running so you can do some of the exercises. There's my little circle. You see the little circle? Aha! You see? And then we have a little glitch here, Adobe. I don't know what's going on. Sometimes you can see the circles, sometimes you can't. So we now have a closed path, okay? Let's see what we can do with this closed path. So I'm going to go ahead and just to show you, you've never lost your ribbon when you make it a template, but you can always undo it as a template. And when you do, you get your full image back. There's no lock on it anymore, but I really don't want to sort of deal with it right now. I want to deal with basically with the path. Okay, I'm going to click on the lock just to make sure that when I start working with the anchor points and all that, I don't want to affect anything else over here, so that everything else is locked. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to take my select tool here. Well, actually, I'll just go ahead and just make sure that the fill color is selected. I'm going to give it a solid color. Okay, the stroke. I guess I could give it a particular color, but I'd have to definitely give it a weight. Okay. All right. So and not my preference, but okay, I'm just sort of demoing this out. So now that we have, that is kind of growing on me a little bit. Okay, all right. So now that we sort of have this this ribbon type of item, let's see what we can do to incorporate some of the other things we've created here, and see what kind of art we can make out of all this. Okay. So I'm going to bring several of these items up. If not, let's see, maybe we can sort of bring up and involve. Okay, that could be fun. I'm going to take the ribbon path here and sort of move it down a little bit. Take the path, move it under the base dots. So you can see I'm starting to manipulate things to make an overall image, and I'm able to move things around freely. Okay. Make sure things are selected when you want to affect them. So I'll make that very deep magenta. And maybe I don't want this that large, so I'll go ahead and hit free transform, hold down my shift key, make it smaller. Okay. Hit the letter V to make sure I've got the selection tool here. Select that, and let's select this. I'll bring it behind everything else here. Okay, maybe not behind all the dots. Okay, but I want to give it sort of a transparent effect here. Okay. I'm going to give our ribbon a bit of the same kind of treatment, and give it a little bit of an opacity treatment. All right. Let me see. We had some more dots here, base dots, more dots, and they're locked. So we're going to turn those on. And this is starting to become a somewhat interesting effect here. So I'm going to take my star, which is the last thing I think I need to manipulate here. Where is our star? Right here. Okay, move it a little bit over. Okay. So the let's see if I can get the dots. This is not hiding anything, so there's nothing on this layer, so I'm going to get rid of it. These are off. There's the ribbon that's still visible. Layer number 3. What was on there? Nothing. Let's get rid of And okay, let's say I'm happy with this composition. Okay, deselect everything. Yeah, I could make some changes here and there, but for the most part, yeah, we're pretty happy with it. All right, so but the only thing I'm really sort of objecting to right now is all this is sort of existing within a square. Maybe I just want to kind of change the entire format right now. Maybe make it more horizontal than anything else. So to do that, I can change the document setup. Go up to the File menu, Document Setup, and I'll go to Edit Artboards. Okay, and now I can actually change, pull up one of these handles and start changing the actual size and proportionality of my working area. So in a sense, what you're doing here is really sort of cropping your art. Okay, maybe I want a little more negative space on this side over here, maybe a little less over here, and a little less coming up from this corner. And okay, I'm a happy camper now. Oops, don't slip. Okay, so there I am with my new layout. So I'm almost done. Right now I have an Illustrator file, okay? Let's do a save. I should have saved this thing way back. Do a save. Oh, we already did a test save, but we're gonna save a test doc AI, which is Illustrator format. AI is Illustrator format. Yes, we'll hit OK. And if you want to later on upload this to our blog, okay, or just send it via email, the best way to go about that is to go to File menu, okay, go down to File, and let's see here, oh, sorry, File, get into File, Save for Web and Devices, okay, and let's bring this in here. So here's the original Illustrator file, and here are here's a JPEG format, which is really good sort of for graduated tones, like with photographs. Okay, here we'll change this to GIF. So GIF can provide almost the same quality in continuous tone, depending on how much of a range you want to use on a GIF. If you want to use a 256, that's a very broad range. If you want to limit it to just 8 colors, look what happens. It sort of gets like a little breaks them into little dots. But you're able to save this as a very small file, 20.92K, very small versus the original we had it as 256. Still a pretty small file. But for flat graphics, generally speaking, we like to save files as a GIF. When there's continuous tone involved, we generally like to save it as a JPEG. Now you can see the size of a JPEG here is considerable, 95K versus 24K. The third option over here is if you have a transparent background, like it appears we do, save it as a PNG. Okay, PNG will preserve the transparency of every aspect of the file, and it can range in between the size of GIF and JPEG. So those are some of the things you should be aware of. Typically, for a lot of sites like our blog, save it as a JPEG. Okay, and you don't need 100% quality. You can vary the quality. How small can you make this file so it still looks like the original? Well, I could see right here that there is some degradation over here. I mean, there's no point in enlarging it because it's not going to be seen over 100%, generally speaking. But the smaller I make it, there's some degradation. If I bring it closer to maybe like 60, the degradation is minimal. So maybe 60 is a good size to save it as. Give it a sign, do a save. Hello, save. Test doc. I'll give it test doc 2. Okay. And so I'm done. I'm done creating a file that I can now post to a blog or send via internet. And there you go, folks. Now you're ready to do some of the exercises. Okay? All right. Have a great time. See you later.